Hi everyone, it's Jenny. Today we're going to work a number of core drills because we're working towards tuck-ups and pike-ups. So these core drills are going to kind of fluctuate between being on your back as well as being on your hands. So we're in for it for a little bit of time together. Please be prepared, make sure you have lots of water, and please also make sure you will have warmed up well in advance of taking on this core practice. So come on over to your mat. We're going to lie down flat and we're going to work some hollow body holds to begin. Good, so if you just recall from maybe previous classes, hollow body holds are somewhere between kind of a low boat hold and then also perhaps a leveling up by taking the arms back by your side or back by your head and just being here for 1, 2, really squeezing everything in tight, 3, 4. We're going to start to rock up and down on 5. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to take 5 more. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can relax, come on down. Just give your core a little bit of a stretch out. And next we're going to do some tuck rolls. So same sort of a thing on our back, except this time we're going to tabletop the legs, take the arms forward, and really use the core. So squeeze the booty, squeeze the thighs. We're going to rock up and down 10 times and really try to engage the core as your means of rocking. No momentum here. So here we go. Core, lift up. 1, rock back, lift up. 2, rock back, lift up. 3, rock back, lift up. 4, just trying to keep your shape. Rock back. 5, rock back. 6, maybe go slower or faster than 8. Rock back. 7, again, really try to keep your shape. Rock back. 8, 9, and 10. Let's hold it up here. Let's get into a nice high boat. For 5, maybe this feels easy. 4, really feel your low belly working. 3, 2, good, we're going to take a vinyasa after this. And 1, let's cross your shins, practicing hopping back, seeing how it goes. Inhale up, woo, and exhale hopping back, lowering down. My core was a little tired there. Inhale, upward dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. All right, sweet, so come on down to your hands and knees. So for just a minute, give yourselves a moment because we just did a lot of core work and just recalling the idea, in the Ashtanga practice to take the vinyasas to get to the upward facing dog as well as to reconnect to the breath. So we're just trying to kind of come into that state of counter stretch, okay? So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do downward facing dog to something called a Chihuahua hop. So this is kind of fun. I'll just quick demonstrate. Downward dog, of course, as you know. And Chihuahua is just a short downward facing dog, so it's kind of like a forward fold. If you have some difficulty taking a forward fold with your palms flat on the floor, this might be a little bit challenging, so you will have to bend your knees and maybe curl your back a little bit. But certainly I really want you to have this action of pushing, not only from the shoulders, but also from the latissimus, the lats. So really trying to push from up in this area. So lats and serratus, okay? So back into your downward facing dog. We're just going to practice hopping as we're pushing from our shoulders, pushing from our back into the Chihuahua, and then back into downward dog. Let's do it for 10, okay? So here we go. Look forward, really engage. And 1, push the hop back. 2, again, this is for your core too, so keep that up. Hop back. 3, hop back. Keep that core tight. 4, try to lock out the arms, really push. Hop back. 5, hop back. 6, hop back. 7, hop back. 8, hop back. 9, hop back. And 10. Popping back. Let's come on down. Do a little bit of wrist stretching. Just kind of roll through the wrists a little bit. See how it feels. Awesome. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take boat pose to crow pose. Not necessarily crow pose on the hands. I'm just going to touch my computer really quick. But crow pose to the crow pose in which we're still in boat. So I like to call it crow boat, okay? So boat pose to crow boat, and we're going to keep squeezing and repulse, and we'll just kind of hold each section for probably 5 rounds of breath. Typically 5 rounds of breath is equatable to about 30 seconds, so I think that's pretty decent. So we're going to try each one. Let's try each one 5 times, and it might be pretty tiresome. So if you need to come down, take a break, feel free, and then come back in. So here we go. So you all know Navasana, right? So let's start there for 1, 2, really try to lengthen and lift. 3, squeeze the legs together. 4. And on 5, we're going to go into that crow boat. So really squeeze it in here, push through the palms. For 1, deep flexion of the hips. 2, really try to drive the low belly down into the ground. 3, sitting up a little bit taller if you can. 4. And 5, back out to your Navasana. Here we go for 1, 2, 3. You can always do the low boat if that's better for your back, don't forget. 4, 5, here's your crow boat, again to squeeze it in for 1, 2, try to squeeze your heels together. 3, push up through your palms. 4, good. 5, here we go again for 1, 2, you might be starting to get kind of tired, I am. 3, really try to practice pulling into your core, this is what it's all about. 4, and 5, and again, here's your crow for 1, 2, 3, really practice as though you're pushing into your core pose or into your crow pose. 4, 5, we've got 2 more on each. Here we go for 1, 2, stay with it, stay strong, point those legs. 3, engage your arms. 4, 5, crow pose, squeeze it in for 5, 4, 3, try to round your back as though you're in a deep crow pose. 2, good, 1 more on each side for 1, 2, 3, stay with it. 4, don't give up. And crow pose on 5, here we go, boat crow for 5. Squeeze your knees into the arms, really maximize this thing. 4, make sure you're breathing. 3, 2, awesome. 1, let's make our way to Vinyasa. So you can come back to the top edge of your mat. Don't worry about how beautiful it is. You can't, honestly, if you're doing your core, if you're really engaging your core, don't worry about how beautiful it is, okay? Inhale up and exhale, hop back, lower down. Upward dog, really activate the legs, stretching the front of the hips, pulling the hips forward, and downward dog whenever you're ready. Cool, so come on down to your knees. Just take a moment. I know my core is totally all fired up now. I'm like, I feel super strong. I could probably do a lot of things that I wasn't able to do beforehand, so I like that. The next thing we're going to do is something called downward dog to Lolasana hops. So y'all know Lolasana, it's really stinking hard. Generally when I practice it, I have to have my hands on blocks. And it's the concept of pushing down, trying to lift everything up as tall as you can get it. So we're actually not going to land in Lolasana per se, but we're going to try to land pretty close to Lolasana, okay? And we're going to do this 5 times. So again, it's downward dog to Lolasana, hopping, and then trying to hop back. You can take chaturanga, up dog, down dog if you'd like. I'm going to do that because it's kind of like a natural progression in the Ashtanga practice in which we exit out of maybe a posture. Let's say that you're in Padshasana from the intermediate practice, and we would actually exit out of Padshasana through Lolasana into Chaturanga. So that would be a good reason to practice these Lolasana hops. Another good reason to practice these Lolasana hops, tuck hops are really fun. So Lolasana hops can really help you understand the mechanics of tuck hops, as well as the mechanics of how to jump into crow pose. So if you practice jumping into crow pose from downward dog like we would in the Ashtanga practice, this is a great drill for you to take. So here we go, downward facing dog. And again, we're gonna just try 5 of them, again with an upward dog and downward dog in between. Feel free to omit the vinyasa in between. Okay? So in order to hop into Lolasana, you're gonna have to keep your knees kind of pulled together nice and tight. Really driving the action as though you're pushing from the lats, pushing from the serratus, and squeezing the thighs together, squeezing the core. So here we go. We're going to try to pike the hips up as high as we can and just land gently into something sort of kind of referencing a Lolasana. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just for drill. So here we go. Inhale up, exhale to Lolasana hold. Let's Lolasana hold, hop back to Chaturanga. Upward dog, inhale. Downward dog, exhale. So that was one. If you're kind of like, well, my feet are dragging across the floor, I think that's pretty normal for most folks, so don't worry about it. Instead, just drive it from your core. Here we go. And 2, inhale up. Exhale, land in Lolasana, hold. Inhale back and lower down. Upward dog, inhale. Downward dog. We've got 3 more to go. If these are pretty exhausting, it makes total sense. Feel free to omit the last 1 or 2. Inhale up and exhale to Lolasana, hold. Hopping back, upward dog, inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Let's take 2 more of them. Inhale up, exhale, Lolasana. Hop back, Chaturanga. Upward dog, inhale. Downward dog, exhale. I think we have 1 more. So here we go. Inhale up, exhale, Lolasana. Hop back, upward dog, inhale. Downward dog, exhale. Good. So let's just take 5 rounds of breath in downward dog. 1, 2. Getting to know this shape. 3, maybe relax for a moment. 4. And 5, we're gonna hop forward to the seat. So look forward, really protract from the shoulders. Hop it up and all the way through to land. All right, so next thing we're gonna do are Navasana Toe Taps. So these are really great. There are a lot of compression for the hips, so I really want you to practice using your core. If at any time the hips start to kind of lock up, you can sort of release the pose or release the action just by not doing as many or maybe not going as deep, okay? So we're gonna try 15 of these things. So it's just a Navasana, like regular Navasana, lowering down, lifting up, and tapping the toes. Notice it's pretty challenging. Lowering down, lifting up, keeping it slow, touching the toes, keeping the legs straight if you can, lower down, lift it up. You can always bend the knees, just don't cheat. Tap the toes, that was 3. Lower, lift, lower, lift, lower, lift, lower. Here's 6, lower, 7, lower, I lost that one. 8, lower, 9, lower, 10, we got 5 more, lower, 11, lower, 12, lower, 13, lower, 14, lower, 15, hold it up there, don't hang on to your feet for 5, 4, take your arms forward so you're not cheating, 3, 2, we're gonna take a vinyasa, 1, cross your shins, inhale, lift, exhale, hop back, however you can get there, lower down, Upward dog, inhale, really stretch. And get to your downward dog, however you can get there. Awesome. So finding your downward facing dog, just take this opportunity to relax. Doing a lot of work today. And just remember there's a really great idea behind counter stretching. So in this particular video, we'll just do a little bit of counter stretching at the end, not a whole lot. You might choose to take on a little bit more for yourself. Reopening the hips, maybe taking some back bends for yourself. Awesome. So let's come back down to the knees and just take a moment to sit. It's a lot of work. The next couple of things are pretty challenging, so I'm going to talk to you about them. There's this phenomenon called a handstand burpee, okay? So if you're not really comfortable doing handstands in the middle of the room, you're going to do this against a wall. So the idea is to take a burpee, and instead of doing the jump up at the top, you're going to try to handstand up by kicking both feet up. So for me, I like to tuck up into that if I'm going to practice it. It's really challenging for me to take both legs up at the same time. So you might notice that when I'm doing it, I have to really hop. And again, I'm going to tuck my legs into hop, and that's okay. So no problem. So let's get to the top edge of your mat. So maybe just watch a couple and then rewind the video just so you can see how it goes. Great. So let's just take a nice forward fold, getting to know this space, leaning into the fronts of the feet, relaxing into the back body, feeling the flexion of the hips, feeling the core lifting in. And then just starting to walk the hands forward. We're going to start with the hop up, and then we're going to try to land right back here in the space. So tucking up, landing back here, and then we'll hop back to our push-up. We're just going to do 5 of these. These are pretty challenging. So you got to lean forward into the hands for this, right? So here we go, leaning forward. Inhale, tuck, exhale, hop, and step back or hop back, lower down, come back up to push-up, back up to your forward fold. That was 1. Here we go. Inhale up, exhale, land, hop back, lower down, come back up, hop back forward. That's 2. Again, you can do this with a wall, so that way if you want to kick up completely with both legs, you can. 3 more to go. Inhale, hop up, exhale, hop back, lower down. Inhale, hop back up, and exhale. Inhale, hop back up, exhale, hop back, lower down. Inhale, push up, hop back up, and exhale. So one more time, I notice for me that I really have to lean forward in order to get my feet and my hips up and over my shoulders. So I'm really going to try for this one. Actively pushing from the shoulders. Inhale, tuck up, exhale, hop back, lower down. Inhale, hop back up, and exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Let's take the arms to the sky for a big stretch. And exhale to Samasthiti. So good. All right. So the last thing we have, everyone loves L-sit holds. And if you're one of those people who have a love-hate relationship with them, great. If you're a person who hates L-sit holds, I totally understand. We're going to do them anyway. We're going to try a couple of sets, 5 rounds of breath apiece. Nothing crazy. I do recommend grabbing blocks, if you have yoga blocks, just to place them underneath your hands, okay? So here we go. Now, one of the things all of my teachers have advocated for over the years in L-sit holds is not just to lift straight up, okay? Lifting straight up is actually effective, sure, as long as you can get the core to work and you can try to lift the legs when you lift straight up. What's more effective, though, is this concept of lifting and dragging back. So holding that. And that's what we're going to attempt for 5 rounds of breath. If your feet lift up off the floor, cool. Let's see how it goes. We'll just take 1 and breathe. Here we go. Pushing down, lifting up, drag it back for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Come on down, rock it out. We're gonna do it again, just for good measure. Really try to suck the low belly in to send your hips back. Maybe you even lean a little further forward. See how it is. Breathing in, breathing out, smile, lift, and lean into it for 1. Your feet can stay on the floor for this one if you want. 2, really suck the low belly in. 3, push from your upper back, you got it. 4, 5, swing forward, come on down, rock it out, roll out the wrists. Especially if you have squishy blocks, you kind of want to roll out the wrists. Good, so we're going to take 1 more. Really try to activate your TVA, try to activate pelvic floor muscles, really drive everything in as you push from the upper back. 1 more time. Hands on the blocks or the floor if you don't have blocks. Breathe in. You got it. It's not hard, you got it, no problem. Inhale up. Exhale, lean it back for 1. Try to get your hips as far back as you can. 2, 3, 4, 5. Come back forward and down. Let's remove those blocks. That's all we're doing of those today. Rock it out. We're gonna lower down to our back. Little counter stretch. Lifting up into bridge pose and just seeing how that feels. If you have yoga blocks, you can bring a couple of blocks, 1 or 2 underneath the sacrum. Maybe even straighten out the legs. This is a really great hip flexor stretch right here, just to be a little restorative with the hips lifted. Whenever I'm doing this one, I generally like to bring my arms back past the head and just being here with the breath. You know, maybe moving the pelvis a little bit, tucking the tail toward the ceiling in that direction, in a diagonal away from your head, just to notice if that gets deeper into the hip flexor area. Another thing I like to do to stretch out my hips after all that hip flexion and core work is to take a little bit of a half hero pose here. So, you know, notice here for me, my knee doesn't touch the floor. And that's because I generally have pretty tight quadriceps. So maybe your knee touches the floor, maybe your foot can come up a little bit closer to your hip. There's no real right or wrong way as long as there's no pain. The action that we're trying to get though is the opening across the front of the hip flexor as well as the quadriceps. So if you're feeling like, yeah, I'm actually getting a lot of that, then you're probably in a good place. So I'm just breathing slow. I'm just doing 1 leg at a time with this. Good, so let's switch sides, just nice and easy. And take the other leg into that half hero shape. You know, be mindful of your knees as always. If half hero isn't good for you, you just go back to bridge pose and just lifting up your bridge pose. And just keep this nice and easy. Maybe noticing that one side is pretty tight compared to the other. Good, and just slowly making your way out of that. Let's go back to bridge pose, just feeling everything lifting and rising, and notice how your core feels. Maybe you can do a little bit of pelvic floor engagement right here. Awesome, so if you still have a block underneath it, you can remove it. Let's slowly come on down and just rock the hips from side to side. And then we'll turn over to one side and come on up to a seat. Awesome, so I'll scooch back over to the camera. So that is a really amazing way to take your handstand practice up like 9 levels. Continuing to do these sort of drills will certainly increase your capacity for not only finding your core, but also being able to get up with a lot of power and a lot of strength, as well as control, because that's really what we're looking for, is that control from the get-go. So the more we train the control, the better off we are in the inversion practices. So thanks everyone so much for being here. Please play with this video, maybe do it a couple of times in a row, maybe do it once a day and see how it goes. Namaste.